In the other video, I mentioned about the triangulation. It's about having differences to figure out the situation by triangulating things so that you know where the location is, where you are on. And I also mentioned about the mini or mini company, mini company, all that organizational setup. The point that I want to talk about is to look myself from the other dimension or somewhere above or below, whatever the case is. So if you think about the space and you or myself, in this case, is in the middle, and look at me from a different level, different from a high level or from side or from the side angle, it doesn't matter, or from lower angle to look it up. But maybe the easier one is to have an image of the camera looking at you from somewhere else, as if you feel where you are, but also in the screen you see yourself sitting, and this camera is checking what you're doing. So this sounds quite weird, but as I go through this explanation of what spaciousness means, for example, or when we talk about the calm and quiet mind, it is to have a different set of eyes. It's like a third eye, not just the eyes that you have and feeling and emotion and whatever is going on within yourself. If you have a third person perspective of what you're doing, that gives you an additional sense of what's going on. Because to be able to see from outside, you have to have a different attitude, to imagine that and to make some idea, the case, imagination of what you may be doing right now, for example. What it does is that while you may be occupied to do something, you can look at yourself from third person point of view. It's as simple as that. And what do you think that would do? That's the interesting question. I want you to try it. If you try it, you may find something like this. Let's say I'm talking to the voice memo and sitting on the chair. That's what I'm doing. And then I can also see me doing so from, let's say, the corner of the ceiling. If you can imagine that, you should be able to do it. If you can't, to make a case is difficult. But if you practice it to create some image of what's going on while you are watching the screen or watching the YouTube video, whatever the case is, and you imagine you're sitting on the chair, or you see actually in your mind image that you are doing that, then you have this sense of new identity looking at yourself. So what does that do? I want you to think about it. Or if you practice it, you may start to feel it, what it means. The point here is that when we are excited or occupied or upset or anger or fearful, we are very much contained in that sense of identity you have. And more of that identity you have and you are occupied, closed into that entity, you are caught up in that situation because you're not flexible enough to do the exercise I was talking about. Makes sense? Please try it and see what happens. Let's say you are busy doing something and you're starting to get tired and your posture is getting like a low and the energy level is down, and you may be scratching your head and wondering what's going on the chair watching this video. What is this video about and what is he talking about? That's fine. But if you see that yourself, doing that, and if you look at yourself from this third eye point of view about what you're doing, what happens? You may start to think, okay, I've been sitting in the wrong position for a long time and doesn't look so happy. The posture indicates that I am tired. So it gives you a sense of yourself doing something from outside. And that may also change what you're doing in your mind, because you are all of a sudden off from what you are occupied with to a different set of scene, of the movie scene about yourself doing that. So that kind of shake you up, possibly, because it doesn't look good or dull or stupid or unexciting and not appealing or something like that. And you don't want to have such a person in the movie doing what you're doing. Or if you're angry and talking to someone, you know, I had that upset feeling recently, and then I realized that, I should have gone through this exercise much earlier. There are many ways to do the same thing. One easy expression is biofeedback. In Vipassana meditation, for example, and also in Zen, one of the exercise or the practice you do is focus on breathing. Be aware of breathing. Sometimes you count, sometimes you don't. You just observe. Depending upon what kind of technique you use, you have different way to do it. You can just look at the scene, open eyes, or don't move, or look for some kind of light, whatever the case is. So that puts you in that different setting, off from your occupied mind running around, and you are within that occupied mind. So you don't know how to get out of it. Once you get out of it and be able to see yourself, that gives you this point of triangulating, one point. If you have a multiple point, it's better, but one point is good enough, because you kind of make you off the hook and then start to think, oh, that doesn't look good. Or there's something I can do, or I should look much more perky, or anything like that. Just observe and sense what's happening. Something's going to tell you out of your unconsciousness that give a sense of better way to position yourself. It's maybe compared to having a reference or talking to someone else. You may be talking about something to someone else, and more you talk and make a case, sometimes it may happen that you realize what you're saying may need to be cleared up in some other way, or say it in a way so that the other person can understand. In that effort, you are looking at yourself to add some phrase or way to express things better. It's kind of the same thing. So more we have this multiple angle kind of a situation, your focus is somewhat diffused and have different reference point. The more reference points you have, usually you have a better triangulated understanding of what's going on with you. So it could be the breathing or sensation on your feet or hand or the neck or the stomach feeling, or off from your body you are in, but up somewhere at the corner of your ceiling and looking at yourself. Anything like that. So that's good enough for this talk, because I don't want to go anything more than that. One thing at a time. And if you listened this far, please leave a comment after you try this and that and see what happened. So we may, by triangulating between you and myself, and communicating through the YouTube and comment column, develop some understanding of who we are, what we do, and what we can. And that's another way of triangulating. And more we have those mechanisms to be able to communicate openly and share the ideas, the better we may be able to position, because multiple point and thinking in a network manner, sort of like a Facebook or a YouTube, and sharing and the group and communicating, and that would give an interesting new dimension in our life, and maybe inspired because of whatever the reason that pops up out of that experience, because you may be more open to it, to see what's going on. Please think, and better yet, practice and see what comes out. It may take a week or two, maybe 5 weeks, I don't know. Each person is different. In my case, I have found this over time. And more awareness you get, I feel you get better prepared for whatever this unknown situation happened to you, or in the crisis situation. Because, of course, 2 eyes are better than 1, and it may be 3 and 4 and 5 eyes, including someone else's eyes, and sharing, if we can do that. It might make us to be broader or deeper and more flexible and open, and possibly find a way to liberate ourselves from the molded way of thinking, off from the hook, more liberated. Of course, any lesson you learn takes time to get the knack of it. But I've never heard anyone saying something of this nature, so I'm curious to share with you and try it out, so that you can help me and I can help you. We can help each other and see what may come out of it. Just be curious and have fun in the process. And again, just I'm talking and nodding my head, and I'm picturing myself nodding my head from the ceiling. Right. If that makes sense, what we're doing, and there's some possibility in this exploration process beyond who we are, who I am, and how we communicate, what platform, we can be in this different dimension to process through information in a much more flexible manner, perhaps more liberated, because like a kids, we are open to explore things, to find the passage going through the crisis or difficulties, or whatever comes in our way. Thank you.